We're gonna do
we're doing Hangouts on the air.
We're trying to get like some like at least like question if people wanted to ask questions or joining the conversation. On Periscope you can't really do that,
and we're live.
Okay.
I'm about to do that right now.
We're live.
We're live. Well, Memphis PHP just tweeted in some foreign language. Thanks, YouTube.
I'll get up and hold it.
Hold it the whole time.
Well, if you are gonna man the computer, then I'll hold it.
I would like to keep this live link.
You need a tripod? And put it on the back of the chair like Kathy's been doing.
I'll just hold it. I think just to. I'll get up in a few minutes after we tweet these things out, because that way I can walk around and get in people's faces.
Kind of glad I'm manning the computer now. That seems a little personal. All right, I just tweeted it and I'll retweet it from everyone.
You do have every Twitter account.
I have a lot of them.
All right. Oh, I don't have. Hold on. I guess I need to do this way. TweetDeck. There we go.
Just wait till I start managing all the user group Twitter accounts.
All of them.
All of them.
All right.
Okay. So let's make sure chat works. Memphis PHP.
It's free.
Always be branding, bro.
I'm making sure I'm tagging on this. Giving you guys a credit.
All right. Now we are live though, but
Yes.
I don't know how many viewers we have. You've got that information.
I do have that somewhere. We have 3 live viewers. One of them is me.
One of them is probably me.
I love we all travel so far to meet in person and we connect to the computer.
Well, I know one person was looking forward to a hangout. That's why I was doing
no,
this.
that's totally fine.
Miss Drew.
We still have like 3 minutes.
Oh, that's right. We're not right at
I'm seeing it now with like a half a minute lag, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's normal.
Yeah.
So you can't really expect to like follow along on. In fact, probably shouldn't, because it's eating the bandwidth, Chris. I'm just kidding.
So we'll start in about 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we're live now, so.
Yeah. So we need a 2 minutes of entertainment.
Do we?
Dance partner over here. So I do a little jig. Hey, we danced last time.
Oh, we sort of did. You danced. I just kind of stood there.
You followed. It was good. You followed.
I accidentally crashed the wrong wedding one time when I was in college.
How we're periscoping today?
Periscoping was fine. It was
Awesome.
a little tiring, but
Yeah.
towards the end, I'm like,
I like that facial expression.
We're switching the wedding together in the hotel.
You could like brighten the lights in here. That would be nice. I don't know if they get any brighter. There's a button. Push it. There's light switches over there, but I don't know if they're dimmers. One on the far right looks like it could be a dimmer.
No, far right's a panel. None of these work.
Oh, that was a screen. Nah.
There we go.
Well, that's actually lower than what I was. I wanted to go brighter. That's as bright as it goes.
Well then.
Thanks for the support, Cal. Okay. So it's 5 o'clock. Let's get started. How long do we have this for? Is it 30 minutes?
An hour, I think, but we don't have to go that long.
So yeah, welcome to Open Spaces User Group and Community Organization. My first experience with an open space at PHP Tech was 2014. Michelangelo Van Dam, godfather of the PHP community, did one of these open spaces, and as someone who was already a user group leader, it was really awesome to see. And I know Michelangelo couldn't be here this year, so I wanted to make sure it happened. So a few of us user group leaders kind of came together to make it happen, and here we are. I guess we should go around the room and introduce everybody.
Sure.
I know a lot of us know each other. I'm Joe Ferguson. I'm the user group leader for Memphis PHP. Depending on who you ask, I'm also the user group leader for Nomad PHP. However, that's all actually Cal Evans is that user group leader. I've been running Memphis PHP for about 3 or 4 years now. So that's me.
Christopher, lead Atlanta PHP. I've been lead organizer for about 6 years and involved for over 12 in the entire history of the group.
I'm Sammy K. Powers. I am a co-organizer of the Chicago PHP user group, and I've been a co-organizer for about a year and a half, I think.
Mark McCollum. I'm a new organizer in the St. Louis Full Stack Web Developer meetup group, and we're still kind of a smaller group and growing.
Dave Stokes. I organize the North Texas MySQL User Group, which is part of the Dallas Oracle User Group or Special Interest Group. I'm also community manager for MySQL products, so Oracle pays me to go around the world to go to conferences like this.
I'm Cal Evans. I'm one of the co-organizers of the Palm Beach PHP user group.
I'm Brian Redder. I'm the organizer for Dayton PHP meetup.
Awesome.
Hello, I'm James Tickham, and I organise PHP Hampshire user group in the south of the UK and PHP South Coast Conference, also in the south of the UK. And I like community stuff. It's pretty awesome, right?
Let's see if I can flip the camera around. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm Ben Ramsey, and I'm one of the organizers of the National PHP user group. All right.
So one of the things that I like to do or like to see done in this open space is kind of talk about what is working for you, and I guess especially in this scenario where a lot of us are all of us are user group leaders. Talk about what's working in your user group, what isn't working, what you feel your group is lacking, and kind of talk about some of the common issues we face. For Memphis, just to get started, for Memphis, a lot of the issues we've had over the past 6 months is a lack of attendance. We don't have a lot of PHP shops in Memphis. The ones that we do have already are coming out to our user group. So one of the things that we've been doing to kind of drive attendance is I've done a conscious effort of providing content or quality content, not just doing like a hack night or something. Trying to do my conference talk prep and practice runs at my user group, encouraging other members of my user group to do talks. We have a WordPress guy that works for the University of Tennessee, George Spake, who is getting more and more involved in doing talks and speaking and stuff. So trying to encourage that kind of stuff to come up and kind of help. But it's been a struggle, and it's ebbs and flows too. So we're usually seeing 5 to 10 a week or a month at our meetup. But we're also doing kind of more social events as well, because we seem to get a better response on social events. I think so far is because it's a shorter time commitment. People can show up to a restaurant or a bar for a short amount of time and then leave. There's not a content or a presentation they have to sit through. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we've been working on.
Can I ask what time of day do you meet and where do you meet? And what sort of security hurdles do you have to go to get into the meeting?
So we meet at a recruiter's office, which is kind of one hurdle, but it's actually one of the best recruiters or most friendly recruiters in Memphis. So I haven't been told that's a barrier to entry yet. And as soon as I hear that, I have all the kind of proper responses for that. But and there is security that you have to have a security guard let you into the door. But I'm actually standing out front of the building in most cases. And the area that we're in the building can look straight down to see the door. So it's really easy for us to get people in. So that's kind of a hurdle, but I don't feel like that's a blocker. We don't have anybody being on the door and going home because they can't get in. And we also meet at night. We usually meet at 6:30, and we do like a happy hour event beforehand because a lot of people work in the part of town that we're at. We're in East Memphis there. So typically they just get off work, come hang out with us at a bar, at a restaurant or whatever, and then we go to the meetup. So that's, I mean, there's probably some barriers and some things we could streamline to make that easier. I haven't seen those become a primary concern of anybody yet. So.
Well, the reason I ask about timing is I have some folks who want to meet right after work. And
Yeah.
other folks that want to wait till 7 because traffic's horrendous and there's no good trade-off between the two. When I host events, I get an Oracle office, which is great. Bad news, it's an Oracle office, which means someone has to be at the door to let them in and out if they show up late. Other user groups I go to, they have dedicated buildings, the Dallas Fort Worth user group. They meet in an IBM building where you're literally 10 feet away from the front door, so if someone's late, it's no problem. Other groups I go to, there's one building in North Dallas that everyone tends to use from the same organizer. And unfortunately, my fear is one of these days that organizer is going to go away and put 20 user groups out on the street.
So we actually had that happen in Memphis fairly recently, and that was not 20 user groups were put out, but we had a lot of user groups have to find new venues, and that's been a bit of a struggle. But one of the things that you said reminded me of something, but I totally lost that train of thought. But yeah, we had a co-working space that was hosting almost 80% of the user groups in town. Policies and the user groups no longer were able to meet there because the co-working space was just full up on paying clients and there just wasn't any room anymore. But the local college has a FedEx Institute of Technology expansion, partnered with some of the organizations that I help run in Memphis to kind of create this beneficial arrangement to where we can go use their facilities whenever we want. And that has kind of been the saving grace in Memphis for some of the user groups that were depending on that co-working space. So that's worked out really well. We haven't done that for PHP yet because every time we move, it's kind of a really drastic drop in attendance. I'm not really ready to gamble on that just yet. But, you know.
I think one thing to add regarding like low attendance levels, I don't really see that necessarily as a problem. Because even if you've got just a handful of people attending, that may be, you know, your regular user group size. You know, some people are just not interested. Some people are going to come. Some people are going to come every month because they love it. Some people it may be logistics. You know, especially if you meet on a regular day of the month, like we do. Some people are like, well, I do hockey, you know, every second Wednesday of the month. It's just inconvenient, unfortunately. But I don't see it as a problem. And you know, if you've got just maybe 6 people that come every month, it's still at the end of the day, it's a user group, and you're still building that community. Just it may not be possible. So you know, if there are user group organizers out there thinking, oh, I only get like 6 people turn up every month. It shouldn't be like, oh no, I'm doing something wrong. It should be like, that's good. Now, what can we build on it? You know, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not a negative thing. It can be positive.
Well,
You know?
if you're serving those 6 people, if you're helping them grow,
Yeah.
you're serving a point.
Absolutely. Exactly.
You know, it doesn't always mean, I've been at National PHP when, you know, back when we had 5, 6 people showing up on regular. But as long as you're serving the needs of your community, it doesn't matter how big your community is. It's not about the size, it's about helping developers grow.
Similar consistency in numbers. And I feel like, you know, I'm okay with that, like we're saying, because I don't feel like I'm at the point where, you know, I'm trying to go from a 50-person group to a 250-person group, and the issues involved that changing, finding a larger space, just logistics and putting traffic through that, you know, it's like a hockey stick curve on just what's involved with much higher numbers. But keeping it about where we're at right now, without, you know, forcing the issue of bigger space and more logistics.
Yeah, depends a lot on businesses around as well. You know, I think there's several JavaScript user groups in New York City might hit. I've been there myself, but you know, that obviously shows there's a lot of JavaScript devs there. And you know, certainly where I am, we get probably about 20 people a month, and very respectful, there's quite a few companies doing PHP around. You know, but there's also, I know there's a lot of JavaScript developers as well, so it's probably more.
One thing I thought about doing is something that Nashville does, where they do a Nashville PHP lunch every once a month. Ben, is it?
We have 2 a month. We actually do, here, I'll flip the camera. So we actually do 2 lunches a month. One started out as a hot chicken lunch, and that's in town. Then the other one is further south in a town called Franklin. And the developers started doing that. Someone just, you know, decided they wanted to do it down there because during lunch, the traffic is too hard to get from there into Nashville. So now they've kind of started down there. It'd be nice to kind of see where that goes and where that, you know, that takes that group.
So because Memphis is so spread out, we actually have an East Memphis Tech lunch every Wednesday. There's a Cordova, one of the suburbs, tech lunch every Tuesday. And then every Friday, there alternates between downtown and midtown. So we already have so many lunch events. I'm kind of worried that a PhD lunch, even a one-off once a month thing, could possibly step over all these other events.
Yeah.
So it really just.
Well, I mean, there's good alternatives for the regular meeting. And I'm not saying we replace the regular meeting, but steal a page from Keith Casey's book. He used to have the beverage subgroup or the BS group, you know, and they would just get together at a bar and presentation. You weren't allowed to pitch or anything like that. It was just geeks getting together and you know, and sharing with each other. So if you're looking for an alternative not an alternative, if you're looking for something to add on to your meeting, consider something like that. Very low pressure, whether it is at a hot chicken place like Teddy B's or just a local bar after work somewhere. That's a good idea. And that feeds your main meeting.
Absolutely. One of the things that we did with our hackerspace in town when we started it in 2010 was we started meeting every week. And user groups, that's way too much. You're never going to get a user group unless it's maybe Nashville can do that. But you're not going to get that every week. But the benefit of that is your users that miss a week aren't going to be super behind in the goings on of the group because they miss a week, they can always come back. It's much harder for a once a month group to miss a meeting and you're really far behind because it's almost another month before you get to see these people.
Yeah.
And Slack, IRC, and social media kind of solves that problem. It's not a replacement for that, being able to get away from the family or get away from the day job and go hang out with other geeks. So I think that's still important, but I just haven't solved that particular problem.
Ask a question. Is anybody else working, not anybody else, because I'm not currently doing this, but is anybody working with other communities in their area with other technologies? The example would be in Nashville, Jacques Woodcock would put together a Christmas party that was everybody. And he actually, out of that, he put together a group, and once a quarter, we would all meet, and it was kind of a meeting of the families. You know, we would get together, we got rid of the conflict between the WordPress and the PHP user group meeting on not only on the same night, but at the same dang time, you know?
And the same location.
Yeah, in similar locations, you know, it was very confusing. So, but is anybody else working with other user groups?
Yeah, so I have the benefit of also starting a Laravel group, so
Adrian?
it's similar.
No.
Yeah. No, we try to work with the WordPress group that's local as well. I think that's one of the many communities, Laravel is probably the same way.
Yeah.
That it can from time to time be a silo. So
No, but it's a natural, WordPress and Laravel are natural allies of the PHP community in general.
And so the larger thing, and this is part thanks to Joe, is we in Columbus did, I think there's 17 groups total. Did a holiday party this past year. It was like 250 people came out.
Nice.
So, and it was Ruby, .NET, I think Java, Python, PHP.
Yeah, we do that in Memphis. We call them super user group meetups, and we do lightning talks, and it works really well. We're doing we're trying to, so we traditionally call them super user group meetups, but in June, we're doing one where it's the same thing, but we're branding it kind of the June Memphis Tech Talks to kind of get people who are not necessarily put off by the user group, but don't know what that means and are kind of shy away from it because of that. So we're not trying to be a TED Talk type thing, but just a general tech talk session and doing the same thing. We're gonna have Super 7 Lightning Talks. And it's gonna be at this new FedEx place that's partnered up with one of the foundations. So yeah, that stuff works really well, especially if you can interact with other communities.
We try to be more behind the scenes as organizers, to your point of not schedule stuff on the same night or similar venues. So that's been helpful. We do that quite a bit more. We actually created a private Slack channel and everything. So we in there behind the scenes.
Jenny Wong, who's watching the streams, mentioned summer barbecues and winter parties because not everybody celebrates Christmas. And we do a holiday party for the same reason, and we kind of try to do it at the beginning of December, which kind of is usually non-conflicting with everybody else's holiday engagements and other things that have going on.
Yeah, that was always the fun part in scheduling the holiday party in Nashville, because I worked with Jacques on it for a few years. And finding a time that didn't conflict with, or if you get too late into December, family obligations and stuff start to kick in. So early December is your best bet.
It's gotten to the point now, most of the user groups in Nashville no longer schedule December meetings.
Yeah.
They just use that as their meeting.
So the PHP group, when Jacques started doing it, we started doing that immediately.
Mhm.
But that was just because we were too lazy to organize a meeting.
Our Python group, when we do these big multi-group events, our Python group still meets because we have so many eager Python devs in Memphis, so eager for content. They're like, yeah, we'll still meet even if it's the next day. Like the last time we did this, I think they met the very next day and they had a great turnout. But that's just, we have a ton of Python devs in Memphis all of a sudden for the past few months. So. But yeah, traditionally PHP will cancel our meeting and push all of our members to that event.
So with I just started the PHP meetup last month, and I have been helping organize the WordPress meetup. There's no point in scheduling a meetup if you don't have speakers. And in WordPress, we have trouble getting speakers. We've been rotating through the same 5 speakers for the last year. What is your guys' process for getting speakers and getting new speakers?
It's WordPress. I'm pretty sure WordPress has like a central organization that you can probably contact, and they'll probably have.
Yeah, but they won't send speakers.
Yeah, they won't.
No, but they might be able to point you in the right direction at least.
So you don't even schedule a meetup without a speaker beforehand? Is what you're saying?
We have it. I have the Dating PHP as a recurring
Yeah.
meetup just with the TBA.
Right.
But I mean, I don't want to get to the point where I have to cancel that meetup because we don't have a speaker.
I think it's still important to meet on a regular basis. Regularity is something that I've always found was a really important thing to kind of keep the group going and to build that core group that you have. So even if it's a small number of people that come out. So maybe you can kind of shift the kind of focus of the meeting so that it's not necessarily on, always having a presentation with speakers. Maybe you try to pick topics just for discussion or something, or you just get together to meet socially, and then topics for discussion will come up naturally. So there's a variety of ways I think you can handle that so that you don't have to feel that pressure of always having a speaker, if that's a hard thing to come by.
We do the occasional drink up where we'll just go have a social hour basically, and that seems to work well. But I don't have to do that or just a kind of roundtable discussion.
Well, I will say, Beth Tucker Long up in Madison PHP has done something very unique in that because she runs a conference locally also, she actually has a training session for speakers. So once every so often, I don't know if that's her regular meeting or a special meeting, they will have a session where they say, okay, so you want to be a speaker. And it applies to user group speakers and to conference speakers. And I mean, one of the results is at the Madison PHP conference, they have a room or a track that is dedicated to local speakers, and they easily fill it. So, okay.
teaching people how to speak. Something else I've seen that works is have a problem like, bring in your problem. Something else that works fairly well is if you have a bunch of newbies, say, hey, in 2 months we're having a meeting and I want 5 minutes on generators. It doesn't have to be anything, 5 slides, 5 minutes, 10 slides if you must. And nail them down, publicize the hell out of it so they're going to be shamed if they don't show up. And train the newbies to come and do that. I mean, anyone can do 5 minutes on a subject. And even if it's a standard subject where every other month you have 5 minutes on generators, at least you're training these folks to go out and do stuff and they lose the stage fright and they learn to present. And they say, hey, that was wonderful. 2 months from now, we need something on XYZ, and I know you're perfect for it. Thank you for volunteering. And then walk away real quick.
Kind of similar to that idea, our group started a Trello board where we have a swim lane that's ideas. Anyone can put anything on the Trello board for ideas that they'd like to have presented on or that they would like to present. Another swim lane for volunteering to present. So once somebody says, hey, I want to present on that, I'm going to put the time together to put slides together. We move that over, and then we have another column for scheduled. So at that point, we're actually putting it on the meetup site, and then we move them over once they're done presenting. It's worked out pretty well for us. We've only been doing it for a couple of months now.
Going back to what you were talking about, with the problem of we don't have a topic to talk about necessarily. We have I help with the Drupal meetup and the Ansible meetup, and I've gone to some of the JavaScript and DevOps and some other ones too. And one thing that we've had a problem with in the past is if we have 2 or 3 months in a row with no actual topic, the number of people that kind of come to them starts tapering off until we get down to like 3 or 4 or 5 people. And I guess for anybody that doesn't have that issue, how do you get that? Like, do you have like a kind of an internal rule of we always have to have a topic every other time, or what are ways to combat that?
Before we have the meetup for the month, I want to have the next one already booked so I can announce when it's going to be. Hopefully, if I can, earlier in that week. Right now, we have, I think, 2 meetups booked out in advance right now. So I don't always have that luxury, and I definitely have missed a couple in the last year. And then we'll end up doing like a code kata or something that night just to get people out. So
We're always like 3 weeks
yeah.
behind.
Well, I spent 7 years being behind, so there's no reflection of how it's always been run. So.
I think it's important, and Jenny Wong, if you know her, she's very active in the WordPress community. She's in chat saying a lot of the stuff, so I'm gonna relay a lot of what she's saying too. But personally, if you've ever heard Nomad PHP, Cal talking about user groups, and people, if you don't have a local user group, it doesn't take a conference level speaker to start a user group. You don't and you shouldn't feel obligated to provide a conference level talk every month. Some user groups do. Some user groups just have access and have the benefit of people will fly into New York or wherever to do these conference level talks. That's great. But you don't have to have that. You can just start with 2 or 3 people and talk about what you're working on at work. I mean, that's the origin of any user group. Yeah. So don't feel obligated and certainly never cancel an event because you don't have a topic.
Let me say, if I can pitch this, since you mentioned Nomad PHP, we do have a outreach program. If you'll email me or Kathy, we'll send you the URL, but we'll send you a coupon for a free meeting, a coupon for one of my books to raffle off, and
They're saying
stickers and stuff like that. The meeting is for you to show at your user group. So if you run out, now we don't like you to do it more than once a quarter, but if you run out of speakers and you need something, don't cancel your meetup. If nothing else, email me, drop me an email and say, we want to show this one. I'll give it to you. That's what we do.
Just showing that it's picking up. I don't know.
I'm asking. Something else to do is if you find someone here that you know visits your hometown because their uncle lives in town or something like that, beg them, say, hey, I'm going to be in town. Are you going to be in town sometime soon? Because I'd love to feature you for a meeting.
Or you're not consider doing it remotely. I presented to the Syracuse club recently remotely with the talk that I give on front and I'm giving here. Another thing that I think is kind of discounted too often is talks that either one talks that or soft skills talks and then talks that are sort of cross-disciplinary.
Like in this case, obviously, I'm actually going to be taking the talks that I'm giving here and giving it to the Drupal group back home when I get back, and I don't do anything. I know advertised over Twitter that I was giving the talk, and I invited me to give it there.
Yeah, and the Drupal group, if you have a Laravel group, if you have a WordPress group, those are pools that you can draw from, because those groups all have PHP developers in them. The WordPress tends to be fewer PHP developers, but they do have PHP developers in there, and you want to hear what Drupal and Laravel and WordPress people are working on.
I don't know if it's scalable, but something that was successful for me last year is Yitz was relatively close to us, about 3 hours away, presenting at Laracon. So I asked him to move his flight back to the next day. I drove him up to Columbus. He spoke. We got him on a flight.
Nice.
Right. So maybe that's a thing to look at too. Is who's going to be not just in town but close. And I've spent gas money and time wherever we go pick them up, but other than that, it was free.
Well, and it's a good point. There are companies, and I will use Zend as an example simply for the sake of example, but there are other companies that will do this, that send out contractors, PHP developers out to client sites. Adam Culp, one of my coworkers, spoke this week at the Phoenix user group because he was in Phoenix. So if you have or reach out to some of these companies and say, are any of your people going to be in town? We would love to. Usually they're happy to. Adam, I don't think has ever turned down a speaking slot. Kind of like me, he likes the sound of his own voice. But yeah, there are companies that will do this.
Also, since a lot of user group leaders are here, if you're not on the user group admins mailing list on php.net, please join that. That is a great resource. I've offered a couple times on that list, but if anybody ever needs content, I'm more than happy to do talks either remote or if you're driving distance from Memphis, let's work something out, see what our schedules look like. I mean, I keep saying I'm going to go up to Nashville. I haven't made it there yet, but it's not always about being in the same building with people. I mean, we can do a hangout like what we're doing now. It's just as easy to do a remote talk than it is to do a local talk.
Speaking of mailing lists, I know it's a little off topic, but there was somebody who posted in the internals mailing list, and I don't know if there's anybody here, that said, we're +1 on this feature from the so-and-so user group. It was a really cool way to involve the community, the general community, into PHP internals. And in Chicago PHP, I started actually kind of summarizing the RFCs that are from the past month, like which ones got voted in, which ones got a little bit of discussion. Everybody in on the PHP internals list without all the drama and stuff, and still being able to contribute back. So just an idea to throw out there.
I really like that. It's like the quick hit news that can dig in and meet up. Yeah. I might steal that.
Yeah, steal it.
Going further out, like what I said about Process Winter, consider maybe even inviting people who aren't from user groups directly related. Like, I mean, we as developers, some of us are one-man shops. We use tools that aren't necessarily written in our own language, tools that are maybe written in Java or Ruby or what have you. And other people may have more direct experience with them based on the language. So consider looking at other user groups in your area that aren't necessarily PHP specific.
It should be PHP adjacent.
Yeah, there you go. You don't even necessarily need to have a talk as well. One time at PHP Hampshire, got the name of the user group then, we actually had Zen come down to do an elephant hunt. So I bought a box of elephants, we had a play with Zen server, and we got a load of elephants from it. Kind of cool.
Nice.
And that took up a session. We also had a couple of small lightning talks from some local speakers then, but that wasn't strictly necessary. So there are other things you can do, show and tells, and just stuff like this. Have like an open forum discussion type thing as well. We've done something similar to it before as well.
One of the things we did at one point in my darkest hours of desperate need of content was I just opened up my laptop, opened up a new project, and started showing people how I code. And that ended up being so awesome because people were like, hey, wait, show me your console. How do you do that? What is that doing? And it's like, oh, what key shortcut was that? How are your key bindings set up in your IDE? Why do you work this way? And being able to talk through that showed me not only how efficient I can be, inefficient in other aspects of my workflow. And just have somebody volunteer to do that for 45 minutes to an hour and just And not as a, oh, you're doing this wrong, but as a shared learning experience of, oh, well, that's cool. I never thought about doing something that way. And a lot of people will be able to learn a lot of different things, not just about code. I mean, because you could talk about any project like that and show off any kind of code base. And that worked out really well for us. And we've done it a few other times since. And it's always interesting to see what people didn't know.
Sort of adjacent to that, I don't think they're quite as common anymore as they used to be, but I used to know groups to get together to either fix bugs or write tests for their respective projects.
Test beds.
Yeah, exactly. And those aren't done as much anymore, but I think that they kind of get the same opportunities that you just alluded to in seeing how people work, being able to pair program with peers, you know, that attend the user group and just kind of get a bit more information out that you might get just from somebody's, you know, being on stage and presenting.
Yeah, the things that I found that users start coming back after those meetups are usually the ones where you're pairing up or you're helping with problems. And so, like for our Drupal meetup, one of the main things that we do for every meetup is after whatever session we have at the beginning, we'll always have, we'll help you, like literally bring your laptop, show us the problem you're having, and we'll help you solve it. And usually somebody in the room's encountered that. Like, you know, to be honest, most Drupal, WordPress, whatever sites have the exact same issues. It's just you haven't hit that one yet. So usually if we help somebody with those are the people who are like, when's your next meetup? Like, I want to come back. And so, you know, we end up with a core of 5 or 10 people who you can guarantee at least half of them will be at every meetup. And that's been really valuable. The key is we want to keep growing that because, you know, sessions without a lot of content, we've had that kind of die off, and you know, people naturally go away from meetups when they start using other tech, whatever. But
Hey, I got a question. How do you level your content? How do you, I mean, those of us who do this every day, and especially if we're involved in user groups, I know I tend to gravitate towards the more advanced topics. Your new people, because in Palm Beach, I have one person that has been using PHP 3 months. Sure that that person is getting as much out of it as Adam called for myself.
So the two groups I know have different approaches. Dallas has a thing on Saturdays where they meet at a bookstore, or they used to, and junior coders would come in. What's really interesting there is a lot of the junior coders would go to the senior freelancers and say, okay, how do I sell myself? How do I build a business and all that? When I sat on one of those, and the guy was a great freelancer. He picked up some wonderful practices over the years, was able to share them, which is invaluable. Boston they had so many newbies showing up. They wanted something advanced, but hi, I've been programming for 2 hours now and I need help. So what they did is they started a thing where they really started a virtual online class where it was self-paced and they could study by themselves and they could contact certain people within the group for help. And they kind of, well, it wasn't a full mentorship, but was able to get the newbies up to speed. Yeah. Those are cool.
Don't forget, like when you do have a more advanced topic, even if you have no idea what's going on, you're still going to absorb that information, and you know you've acquired the skills that allow you to understand that. You know, things will start clicking and say, oh, I remember that speaker at that user group said this, and oh, that makes sense now. I see what they were going on about, and sort of falls into place. Yeah, we have the same issue. It's basically like at a conference, you can mix the levels of talks. You can have some beginner, intermediary, more advanced topics. But obviously, at user group, you got one. Or it's difficult to find a balance. But then you just sort of distribute it. Like 1 month, maybe have a more advanced topic, then more of a basic topic or soft talk and things like that. So it's just keeping it varied, I think, is important. So yeah, if you're constantly having advanced talks, everyone's like, this is obviously a group for really clever geniuses, and it's not for me, and they'll feel put out of it. So. Yeah, they tend to do that. We mentioned this earlier, trying to be able to give people an opportunity to start and learn and improve on how to speak. Get somebody to a conference, even apart from their user group, they're going to experience a fair amount of variance in level in the audience, regardless of whether you advertise level to talk or not. You have people with different experience levels coming to it. So the more experienced speakers you have, the better they'll be able to deal with that sort of situation.
Jenny's saying in chat on the stream. She says, one thing I'd say, the organizers need to ensure they spot those people sit in the corner and quiet. I'm not saying a word and bring those people into the conversation, just kind of being inclusive. It's not always about great content, it's about the relationships people feel. If people feel invested in the group, they'll come back and for more people to hang out with. So that's my point there.
Starter me saying, hi, I'm so-and-so. Who are you? What are you looking for? What do you want to learn out of this thing today? Are you
Right.
looking for a job? Are you looking to hire? Could you help out a junior person? And if you go around the room that way, you tend to at least get their names and what a vague idea what they're.
Yeah.
Name tags? Does anyone have name tags? We have done, and some people really liked it, but then we ran out of name tags.
I've seen meetups that use them, and yeah, it does kind of help, especially for the larger ones where you may be difficult to spot a person.
And another thing that yeah, a way to kind of inject more life in the meetup is we do like field trips. We have a normal place that's awesome for giving us their space all the time, but we'll try to get a place that's, more somewhere more interesting in town and try to get them to sponsor like free beer, free drinks, free food, party atmosphere. So we still do the normal meetup stuff, but we'll have more time for introductions, more time for networking and things. And the sad thing is, like, I've never seen more people after those come to some freeloaders and some people who would only come for like, I mean, they want to come for the meetup, but they're there for the drinks and stuff. And I'm fine. I haven't found a way to bring those people into the actual meetup. But it's something that's been nice to inject a little life, and also we get free beer and food, which is awesome.
Okay, nobody's gonna say anything, so I got one more question. Raise your hand if you offer free beer at your meetups. Well, I don't, so. But then-
Yeah, so it's a weird scenario for us. There is free beer available, but it's from the recruiter. Because the recruiter is.
Well, yeah, but your recruiter's Vaco.
Yeah.
Vaco has a fridge of beer in every office.
He's awesome, and he's a home brewer, and he knows I appreciate beer as well. So maybe we're a unique case. It's definitely one of those things where you couldn't just go grab a beer, but it's not in the same room. It's very, if you want this, it's over here. This is how you get it, but there's no pressure. It's not a big deal. So we try to we do it that way to kind of be inclusive, because we've had people put off by that in the past.
Okay.
So that's the only reason we
We
try to
had
be.
beer at our first one, and we decided not to have it for no other reason than it's expensive. We have a wonderful sponsor, Ranger Technical, and they order the pizza for us, they order the drinks and everything, and it's all delivered, but nobody delivers beer. So, I would have to go get it, and then I would have to contact Ranger and get it expensed. And so it's just easier. It was a matter of convenience more than anything else, but I was just curious, what everybody else was
We
doing.
always do food, but then occasionally beer.
I heard Uber's supposed to start delivering.
Huh?
I heard Uber's supposed to start delivering.
Group beer. Counterpoint to that a little bit is that we typically go out someplace afterwards, again, expense. We've never had a problem at a meeting. We've had a couple of special events where we said, hey, we've got some extra funding, let's bring some in. Just thinking, liability, anything like that, it's just easier to take it away from the meeting. You're free to come or not come to our, we jokingly call it after party. Go out to a local club or a restaurant somewhere, so you don't have to drink if you don't want to. Or there's, you have choices, things
Our
like that.
current meeting space is right next door to a bar. I mean, 10 steps out of the door and you are sitting on a bar stool. So, if you were really that desperate, you can go do that. But it was, like I said, it was more of a matter of convenience. The inconvenience, so it's easier to let Ranger take care of the whole thing.
Even just with food or just space, it can be difficult, depending on where you live and what the community. It's like, your land on sponsors that, you may not have very many to begin with.
Yeah, we are really lucky in South Florida because they sponsor. Is very generous to the PhD community. I don't say anything unless I say, we'd like you to say something. It's not hey, we're gonna need your resume before you can have a slice of pizza or something like that. They're very low touch. And we have to actually ask them to speak before they'll speak.
So this has been really informative. We don't have a group in our area, and they're kind of like
Yeah.
wanting, yeah, right, that's why we're here, because we kind of like to get something going. So in addition to all like what you guys have said, any like thoughts, comments, recommendations about starting a group, you know, things to do early on, things to be aware of, you know, gotchas or whatever, or just, you know, hey, how do we reach out and find people? Because I don't even know that many people in my area, but we'd love to find them and connect with them.
Find a location and just start it on Meetup.
Yeah.
Just, Meetup will actually contact people with the interest in whatever you would say, whether it's PHP in general or specifically like Workerville. They'll actually go out and contact the people that can specify those interests.
They're one of your greatest discovery tools. And then once you can get 10, 15 people, then word of mouth will start to kick in. And we have a policy. I end every meeting with, look, if you enjoyed this, bring someone else from your work next time. You know, and you know, we lost about 8 people. Our first meeting we had 18 people. We lost about 8. We picked up those 8 just by people bringing somebody else. So.
What do you want to start? Where and how?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, those are great questions. I don't have answers for it.
Yeah, where are you
we're
located?
in northeastern Pennsylvania, Scranton. So there's not a lot around there in any, you know, user groups of any type really. But I think, you know, it would really be a real positive thing in the community there. That was going to be my next question. Like, you know, I've heard a little bit about that. Like, where are you guys typically meeting? Are you meeting renting space? You're getting donated space? Is it in a restaurant? Is it in a business? Like, you know, does somebody's office have a meeting room? Or where do you guys typically meet? What's good?
I was gonna say, check your public library.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's most public libraries will offer space for free to nonprofit groups. Like ours, we have a spot that can hold 30 people, I think, that already has all the tech for us even. So that's a good place to start.
Banks have a lot of banks have a community room, and usually it's off the entrance of the main bank, so it's open even afterwards. And I just found companies have community rooms. Total Wine, which is kind of like the Sam's version of liquor stores in our area, they have a community room. So Kathy's told me we're starting to meet there from now on. But you'd be really surprised if you have a recruiter, or if one of your members has a company that will donate office space. Renting space is absolutely your last resort.
If you do borrow someone's office space, make sure you know the after-hour procedure.
Yes.
And make sure the air conditioning doesn't go off at 5:50.
Something else spoken from experience, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Or lights.
Or lights. And more than security guards. Because the last thing you want is a security guard having a heart attack because he could around the corner. Instead of being an empty room, there's 25 people in there with computers.
I was just gonna say something else to consider is to find local devs, figure out, you know, if you know a company's got, even if it's one guy, but a dev team, something like that, just, it's kind of cold calling in a sense, but say, hey, you know, I see you got developers, we're trying to get some community built. Also may help you find alternative venues, things like that. Possible speakers, I'm trying to get our sponsors to come tell us what they're doing and why they're interested in PHP. Hasn't been having a lot of uptake with that yet, but it'll kind of help feed a number of things as you have to kind of get creative on tracking down people. But you know, like everybody says, Meetup is got SEO out the wazoo, and the reminder things. New groups pop up. Hey, you said you're in PHP. Here's a group that just popped up. You know, they'll get emails like that. So it's as wonky as that gets sometimes. I got issues with
I think all of us have a love-hate relationship.
Yes.
with Meetup.
Yeah.
Usually it's the time the invoice comes around every 6 months.
Yeah.
That's the hate part.
But as a discovery tool, they are the best thing on there right now.
Don't do my mistake of, you know, signing up for the Meetup group and then 2 weeks later it's figuring out what your Meetup is, your first Meetup. Have your first Meetup ready because they will. I think they give you like 2 or 3 days to get that first Meetup on.
The audio? Sure.
So that's
kind of all your ducks are open.
Yeah.
The first time you create a Meetup, they'll actually spam everybody and anything remotely related. Like we started Ansible Meetup, and they spammed everybody that had DevOps as an interest, everybody that had Python, everybody that had Puppet, and all the related technologies. Within a couple of days, they all got emails in their inboxes saying, "Hey, there's an Ansible Meetup." So if you have a couple, like even if you have one or two maybe topics ready to go, people will be like, oh, cool, click, and they'll come to your first one. And the first meetup always gets a ton of people. And, from then on.
All right, because I have to go be a dealer for Casino Night here at PHP Tech, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream. You guys are welcome to hang out and keep chatting, but I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks for watching the stream. Thanks to Ben for being our cameraman. Thanks to Justin Carmody and Jenny Wong for participating in the chat. We will tweet out a link to the YouTube video. Actually, the link we've already tweeted out should be good. You can go back and watch this. We'll see if we can get some more people to help share it. Thanks, everybody, and we're gonna end the stream.
No.